Find Your Feet, we're built on the back of a young fella called Bass Marginal who passed away. He had Ewing sarcoma, a really aggressive form of cancer. He was only 16 when he passed, but in his last few hours he said to his mum and dad, I just want to touch the earth with my feet one more time. Promise me you'll love life and don't waste it.
G'day, Tommy Herschel from Find Your Feet. I'm here in Currumbin Valley. Mount Cougal is about 5 kilometres that way. Every year we come together at the end of the year and bring together young fellas, young women, mums, dads, anyone really who's prepared to put themselves through a bit of a challenge. We'd set the bar. A lot of these young blokes last year, I told them we're only doing a 5 kilometre walk. All up, it's a 14.5, 14.9 kilometre walk. Takes around 3 to 4 hours depending on how much rain we've had, and the whole purpose of it is showing ourselves what are we capable of. So this year's theme was purpose and why, you know, and giving that to the young fellas before that, you know, what's your purpose and what's your why are you here, what do you want to achieve? Because realistically there's no point getting out of bed if you don't have a goal or an outcome for the end of the day. This track is all about going off the beaten track, getting cut up by vines, tripping over, falling over rocks, exactly the same way it is in life. You know, those things hurt, they're a struggle, but how do we push past that? You know, how do we show resilience and strength? I've fallen in love with Formula One driving, and what happens when we watch a Formula One car roar around a track? Well, down the straight, you know, it zooms down the straight at 300 kilometres an hour, and then it might hit a few turns and go through a few S-bends and, you know, hits the straight again, everything's going good. It's a lot like life. We're roaring along, and then we might hit a bit of a bend, a bit of a challenge. But the two messages, you know, that we really push through to the group this year is who's in your pit crew? Who's going to be that person when you're out on the track and you start to get a few flat spots in the tyres? You're the one who has to go, hey, I've got my hand up, I need help. As well as that, you've got to have a good pit crew who can see you out on the track, they can see you struggling a bit, so they'll say, hey, come in and box. So that's the message. You've got to be able to find a group that you're able to go, hey, fellas, I'm going no good. And then you also need mates that have got the ability to go, oi, you look like you're going no good, and mate, we want to help you. Let's sit down and have a yarn. So today was all about who's your pit crew, and we walked around with 31 absolute champions, and you know, watching the young fellas trip over and blokes pick them up. And we had one young fella who tripped over pretty heavily and belted his knee, and we're way up in the mountain. And I said, mate, you got to keep going. We can't get off this mountain unless you walk. And he got straight up and he started to walk on it, and he limped a bit, and 5 minutes later I said, how are you going? And he said, mate, I'm good. And I said, if that was on the footy field, what would you have done? And he said, I would have gone straight off. So it's about showing them that they are capable of pushing through that pain. You know, it's always a challenge, and great to see young people stretching themselves to a point that they had no idea they were capable of doing. Mount Cougal in Currumbin Valley has got the 2 peaks, and then there's a peak in front of it that's called Boyd's Boot. A lot of these young blokes here, I told them we're only doing a 5 kilometre walk, and one of them got all the way through the walk, or nearly to the end, and he said, mate, how far have we walked? And I said, mate, you've done about 18 kilometres. And he said, no, I'm not capable of doing that. And I showed him a watch, and he started to tear up, and he looked down the valley, and then he looked back at me and he said, wow, I wonder what else I'm capable of doing. When you're driving along the Gold Coast, you can see Boyd's and the 2 Cougals from wherever you are. So it's a really important thing for young people to understand. The reason we do those 2 peaks is so when people are driving along the Gold Coast and they look up and they see those 2 peaks, well, that's where the bar's been set. I'm capable of climbing that mountain. I wonder what else I'm capable of doing.